again, continue eating, go back and forth, get the food and drinks you want. But the reason that any of us are having this discussion is because this is something incredibly relevant to what our students want and what they're looking for out of their futures. This isn't anything that we are trying to sell to them. Actually, several students have come to a number of us wanting to do things and go different places to learn about these concepts because we weren't offering them here yet. So I think that's a huge testament to the relevance of this and how do we help our students really become capable agents of change for 21st century big social problems. So I've asked a couple of our students to join us here today. These are just a few of the number of incredible students who've been involved in this work so far. These students are all coming at it from different perspectives, but each just absolutely incredible. And can't wait to watch what they'll do with it. But this is really planned as a very casual conversation, so I'm going to ask them some questions, and I think it's important that we remember, regardless of any of this or what our kind of theories and thoughts and debates are, that this comes from them and it's for them. So I really want to encourage you all to ask them questions too. Kind of just pick their brains and let's really figure out what is coming from us and what's coming from them. So with that, I'd like to, if each of you will just tell us your name, tell us what year you are at Rollins, and what your major is at Rollins. We'll start with that.
I'll start. My name is Megan Curry, and I am a senior international business student.
My name is Anna Montoya, and I'm a senior as well, and I'm studying philosophy with a minor in women's studies.
My name is Bethany Erickson. I'm a sophomore, and I'm an environmental studies major.
My name is Robert Casey. I'm a senior as well. I'm mathematics and economics double major.
Thank you. All right, so my first question is, in your own words, what interests you to social entrepreneurship? There's no wrong answer, but kind of what does that mean to you, and why were you drawn to it? Do you want to start, Megan?
Sure. I think when I first started at Rollins, I was this stereotypical freshman who had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and I was wandering from class to class, taking classes in all different departments. And I found myself feeling very frustrated because there were so many problems and issues out there that I first really didn't have very much of an idea about, and I had no idea how to address them, and I just felt helpless. But at the same time, I had a family sort of telling me, you're spending a lot of money on education. We want you to make some money when you leave. So I felt sort of torn by wanting to do well and be traditionally successful when I left school, but also have a meaningful work in my life and address these issues that I had desired or had developed such a passion to address. And I was looking for something where I could fuse those two things. And I wasn't finding it. So I started doing some reading and some research, and I talked to some people actually in the commerce school who had mentioned this term SESi to me. And as I did my exploration, I started finding there were some majors at some other schools that had social entrepreneurship programs. And I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. This is where I need to take my life. And I wanted to transfer. But it turns out that no one wanted to take my credits, and it was going to cost me a lot more money to transfer. So I stayed here and decided that I would study business, get a background and have some tangible skills when I left, and I would figure out how to use those skills towards my passions later on. And soon thereafter, I met Chrissy Garden and a really charismatic guy named John Fluent, who sort of helped give me some direction, sort of gave some body to this idea. And I started working with SESi. And for me, SESi is just, or social entrepreneurship is a way to address your passions for helping those who don't have the same benefits in life that you do through a set of tangible skills. And that's what I think the SESi office here at Rollins is starting to create. They're starting to create a platform for students to take these ideas and their passions passions and give them some foundation to it.
Well, I had a very similar early experience at Rollins, coming into college and being a first-generation college student. And I didn't really have too much support from my family. They just told me, go to college, get a really good paying job, and you're good for life. And I was like, okay, that sounds easy enough. So I came to college, and I realized, like, I didn't really have much of a direction. I jumped majors a lot. My friends joke around and they're like, are you still changing majors? Like, and I'm graduating in May, so of course not. But the one thing that was always consistent since high school was my passion for involvement. I was involved in the community in high school. I did a lot of service work. And when I came to college, I did community service, community engagement type work. And I also became very passionate about activism. And I did a lot of activism related involvement. But I felt something inside me was not quite complete yet. Like, I was making an impact, but it didn't quite feel like enough just yet. And I had all this passion, but I just didn't have the skills or tools to kind of take it to the next level. Which is when I got contacted sophomore year, Nikki Meyer had recommended me to go to this Sydney Sullivan retreat. And I was like, okay, well, what's it about? And they said, well, it's about social entrepreneurship. And I remember being quite confused. I said, entrepreneurship? Like, isn't that business? I don't study business. I'm a philosophy major. Like, what are you setting me up for? And she said, just trust me. She's like, I know you. I know you're involved. I know you're passionate. And we need people like you there. So Chrissy contacted me. And she said, well, you have a week to decide if you want to go or not. And I was like, well, okay, thanks for giving me advance notice. But I decided to go. I decided to take a chance. I was always big on opportunities and taking kind of risks and seeing where they would lead me. And something that I didn't know at the time, that was probably one of the best decisions I could have made, because, I mean, I've been involved with SESi for 3 years now, and every step since that moment has had some kind of social entrepreneurial focus. Because what I realized going to that retreat was that I was lacking skills, but these skills exist. It wasn't like just some kind of like issue without a name that I had inside that I couldn't, take it to the next level. There were skills out there, business skills, innovation, creativity that I could apply in the real world to make a career out of my passion for serving others. Because before I thought it was just a hobby. I thought, well, I can have a career, but then I can also maybe do community service work. So I realized I can actually make a career out of this. And since then, I've been involved with the social entrepreneurship and sustainability initiative, helping to get the Changemaker nomination and being really involved in that process. And I was involved with the early quantitative data analyses that we were doing, and it was all so new to me, but I realized how important it is to have those kinds of skills, how to be able to quantify your impact. I mean, if you're working in the community just willy-nilly, like, you're never going to understand the change that you're making. And if you want to be a real change maker, those skills are so valuable. And soon after, I went abroad, and I studied in London, and I worked with a social enterprise there, and we did social entrepreneur skill training for migrant women. And that was something I was doing day in and day out, 5 days a week. So I got to actually try it on for size to see, like, wow, I can make a career out of this. This could be my living. And I mean, social entrepreneurship for me just gave me those skills to take it to the next level, to be impactful in the way that I wanted to be able to use my apply my education. And now, as I graduate in May, I'm planning to pursue social entrepreneurship in the future. And I think being involved with this at Rollins and kind of in the early stages has really provided a platform for me. And the fact that we're developing this and providing this platform for more and more students through courses, through internships, I think it's such a great thing, because these skills are useful to all students, regardless of major or what they're studying at Rollins.
I mean, I definitely agree with everything that they said. I'm relatively new, I would say, to this whole idea. I'm a sophomore, but since being involved at Rollins, I've been very involved with service and with that process of community engagement and exploring all these different passions that I have. Community service has always been extremely important to me, and kind of like they said, also recognizing that it's somewhat of a burnout feel. It can be if you're very passionate about something, but it takes a lot out of you. So how can you kind of do good and do well? So I was interested in social entrepreneurship right away, even though I never considered myself a business person. environmental studies major. So when I was talking with Christy, she was like, you should really consider applying for Think Impact, which is a summer program that I'm going to do this summer. And it's working in rural Kenya and helping people there start businesses based on their greatest needs, but also their greatest skills. And so when I first brought this up to my mom, she was kind of like, you know, you've been interested in conservation and animals and the environment, like what does this have to, now you're talking about going and helping people start businesses, you know, what does this have to do with like the environment? But to me it has everything to do with the environment, because first of all, you can't help the environment if you first have to help the people. And you first have to look at what their greatest needs are, because we're the ones that are affecting the environment. And so I see these things all very interconnected. And even though I don't plan on, you know, becoming a businesswoman for the rest of my life, I think just as I articulated, the skills that you learn can definitely be applied to whatever you do. So I know that I can use the skills of, you know, creatively thinking and being innovative to solve the global issues that I'm most passionate about in my future career. And so I think, yeah, it's just all about learning these skills and then how can you apply it to what you're most passionate about. And so social entrepreneurship, I definitely think is something extremely important to be integrated into the Rollins culture, and it already goes so well with what we're doing. So
It's always hard to find something new when you go last. I'm going to try it anyways. So when I came to Rollins, 2 or 3 months in, we started this organization, me and a fellow Nepali, I think most people probably know him as well. We started an organization called Making Lives Better. And through Making Lives Better, we fundraise for the 9 months we school, and for the 3 months of summer we used to implement, execute a lot of service activities in the fall. The first year we did it, it was a huge success. The second year we weren't able to do it because of some glitches and Mickey's probably doing this for the first time, but there was one sentence Mickey told me this one time that literally changed my life. And it was, Casey, you're an intellectual ADD. You go from ideas to ideas.
You do.
You need to focus on one certain thing. And that is when I started thinking that what is that one thing that I'm passionate about, what is that one thing that angers me the most, because that is how I can see myself sticking to one thing at a time. Making Life Better was it, but there were certain changes that I needed to make to the curriculum, make to the program. So junior year, I went to Nepal. We did our project. It was an amazing success. We were able to cut costs by a lot. We were able to do a lot of different things. And then I realized it's a great work that we're doing. It's amazing. It helps a lot of people. We've helped over 10,000 people in the last 3 years. However, that's 10,000 out of 20 million. And Nepal has a sense of it's almost like it has a wound. And we are helping people. We're doing great things, but we're putting bandage over that. We're not curing that wound from within. And while that bandage is totally necessary, I was thinking of finding ways to go deeper, find the bigger solutions. And through my research, through my some research, I realized that academics and research-oriented solutions, research-oriented policies could be a way to go about it. So that took me to Dr. Jay Yellen. And the two of us with another friend of mine, Charlie, we started a different venture that brought my 2 majors, economics and mathematics, together to try and find ways to optimize portfolios for middle-class investors in Nepal. Now that took me to another level, where with doing academic research, we were also consulting Chrissy this whole time, trying to find skill set and ways to make this not just a research, but a product that we could implement, and possibly a paper that we could provide to the government of Nepal to see that this can be implemented in a larger scale. And this is how my career was almost took a different turn. Now while I will be doing Making Lives Better's efforts for the rest of my life, I found this new way I can help people, and I'm continuing my research and my search for a bigger solution. As I make my way to Cambridge next year while doing math and science and operations, what SESi has done for me, I guess, is help me realize that passion can take you places where it's not just about profit or loss. It's about impact. And as a potential entrepreneur, I am thinking not about monetary profits. I'm thinking profit in terms of how many lives can I make better. And that's what SESi has done. That's what's about.
Thank you all so much. And we've got a few more minutes with these guys, and they literally had no script. They were just holding them in a chair. So this is all just speaking from their heart. But I'd love for you all to think through the lens of what we've been talking about, and thinking about this idea of how do we integrate social entrepreneurship into our curriculum. While we've got these students here from different disciplines, kind of different perspectives, and in different places, are there any questions that it might be kind of neat to hear perspective from them?
I'd love to know from your perspective. We're struggling with what should this be? Should it be a minor? Should it be a major? Should it be a certificate program? What would have been helpful to you?
And anybody feel free to pop in. Everyone doesn't have to answer for everything.
Well, something that I think would be meaningful for me, I guess, coming from my perspective, is that I think social entrepreneurship can be integrated into almost anything. The way that you hear it now, we're all coming from different areas and we can all find it useful. So I think offering a certificate would be a good thing, and having maybe the core skills that are necessary. The social entrepreneurship, it's not necessarily business, but there's some skills that are necessary. I wish I would have known now how useful it would have been to go back and study maybe a little bit of quantitative research to know how to do that. Or there's certain skills that are very tangible that you can study. But then also maybe integrating into classes kind of these innovative thinking principles, getting students to not just think about issues critically, but offering their solutions and maybe thinking more about how they can apply steps to actually realize those solutions. So I don't think, from my perspective, I don't necessarily think a major or minor is necessary, because then, unless it's interdisciplinary, because then maybe the courses could be infused, and then students can count those courses towards a major. But I definitely think it should be very organic and very, I think, infused into the curriculum that we already have.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree with what Anna said. I can also see it being some sort of an interdisciplinary minor, and that could just as someone who's graduating, you would need a lot to see that change. I would be jealous for sure for not having experience, but I can definitely see a minor being another way to implement these ideals where the core courses probably would have to be in a few different majors, so a student gets a holistic experience.
I would definitely agree that maybe a minor. I think if it was just a major, it would kind of almost seem limited. These are social entrepreneurs and everyone else isn't. And just as Anna said, I would like to see it more integrated. Maybe every department has, a designated SESi class, because I think that more of a service learning class components, because I think that, just as Anna said, kind of really focusing on solutions. So taking maybe some problems, now let's come up with solutions. I don't think we have enough classes like that. Because a lot of the classes, sometimes I feel wow, this is kind of depressing, and what am I supposed to do now? So I think just more almost like a service learning kind of thing, all the very focused on social entrepreneurship would be helpful.
I agree with the service learning component and having a solutions aspect to all the classes. However, as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to leave because we didn't have a social entrepreneurship major, and it's such a comprehensive area of study, and you do need so many skills. I think to be effective, I think you need finance, accounting, marketing, as well as understanding the issue from its roots. So I think you really limit the issue if you only have a minor. It needs a major coursework.
perhaps I could ask the same question a slightly different way. If you were to roll the clock back as a high school student looking to come to college, here was a college that offered a major in social entrepreneurship or just a minor in social entrepreneurship, which one would be more attractive to you?
Major. You don't choose a school based on your minor.
Do all of you agree with that? Or?
As a high school student coming in, if I would want to be an entrepreneur as a senior in high school, I'd definitely be more targeted for the major. But after joining as a first year, I think minor would have a bigger appeal to me.
Well, how many of you have any idea about what social entrepreneurship even meant when you were in high school? You can see that on the agenda as a major or minor degree and understood. Do you think today's high school students do, or is that?
I think that it might be a matter of trying to market it in such a way that it's acquired. Because I didn't know. Like I said, I was immediately very hesitant about it when they approached me. Because it wasn't even that I pursued it, it pursued me. So, so I think those courses can have appeal for students if we market it, especially to first-year students, maybe once they're ready in. Because some people will go looking for it, but some people, they come and they just know Rollins has a good reputation, and they switch majors. I mean, I switched a million times. And, you know, like, maybe during that exploratory process, they'll figure out, like, this is
I think Jay.
My question is mostly for the seniors. Looking back and say you work different areas, you wish you had classes to be a successful social entrepreneur. I'm kind of going off the main response earlier. You wish you had class on finance and accounting. What are the areas do you think a successful SESi student should have knowledge in?
I don't know what you would call this class, but it needs to be a class on community value, how to bring communities together and to synergize with lots of different groups of people. I think that would be incredibly important, as well as impact investing, which I know Dr. Sardi's now teaching us how to use your finances to create the largest return socially and in terms of profit. Public speaking will be very important as well.
something that I see now is really useful, maybe having like a course that's like part political politics and part economics. Because I'm applying to graduate school right now at the Rollins School of Economics, and it has a very kind of political-minded framework. So I think for somebody that's interested in starting a business, I think that would be interesting skills to see how do you start a business? Like what kind of like political avenues do you take? Like how do you work within the community that you're in? I think that would offer an interesting perspective as well. Legal issues.
On a completely different note, and I keep going back to Mickey and our office because it really made the biggest change in my life. And I keep looking at it because maybe there's an opportunity for perhaps an ASB related to social entrepreneurship, perhaps a field study over summer or winter break that can be integrated in the minor or the certificate or something of that nature would work wonders as well.
There are a couple more questions.
Just to follow on with what Michelle and Mark sort of asked. A lot of you said, social entrepreneurship was kind of cool, it was really interesting, you got into it sort of after you were already here. Wasn't this something you got into? At what point is the right time? Is it like in the first year, sort of during RCC, after RCC, or perhaps it's sort of maybe one of the menu of things to do in like a common softball experience? Sort of what level would be the right time to sort of introduce social entrepreneurship? Or is it something that has to happen in every class, every major, all the time?
I think it gives me a little too late. It wasn't my service related experience didn't turn into a social entrepreneurship approach until right before my senior year when I was in his office, and that I say is kind of like I could have had I was given an opportunity, I could have seen myself pursue this where I can see a lot of, I keep going back to OC, but this is where I can see a lot of offices coming together. If an issue is brought into light through immersion programs, just an example, a solution could come from the SESi office, and that I can see being the integration. And had I had an immersion program, it hit me to the core, and it did, but it did a little late. I think I would have started this path in my sophomore year or so.
I think there were 2 more hands somewhere. Something was over here.
Well, it actually follows on that. It is on all of the panels, but in case you brought up a couple times. How important, I know actually that 2 of you, I think all of you, but at least 2 of you already have community engagement or service learning. I know a lot about Anna because she's my advising. And so how important would you say some kind of immersion experience, community engagement, service learning, whatever you want to call it, how important was it to you in terms of sort of applying those skills? And for Anna, what crystallized actually what you want to do in the future, that really was what made you say, I want to go on in this, and this experience is what compelled you really to build on in graduate school. So how important was an experience to you if you've already had it? And then how important to you, like we're talking curricular issues, would you say that a community experience or immersion experience should be required for a SESi, whatever we do, certificate, minor, major? And if so, should it be both domestic and international? So that's a lot of questions.
A lot of questions.
Yeah, I know.
I think my community engagement classes have been the most memorable and the most meaningful to me. I will always remember those classes for the rest of my life. And I think that is absolutely necessary in a SESi major.
Yeah, I would back that up. I've taken so many service learning classes, probably I can't even count at this point. And I had international experiences. I did a semester abroad that was focused on service learning at London. And same thing, those were the most memorable experiences. I actually came out of those classes. As I'm a senior now, I have a tendency to reflect a lot about various things. And lately I've been thinking about it. What am I getting out of my education? I'm getting this 4-year degree, but what have I gotten? And I look back and I remember all my service learning courses. I took a photography class where I spent like a year working out in Papa, taking photos of the community, telling their story. And I can say that, you know, I can list the skills that I got from that, and that just invigorated my passion to pursue more and more opportunities. So it's definitely necessary, and both domestic and I think international, because it's a continuity. You know, I work with a migrant population here, and I went to London and I worked with a migrant population there, and it was completely different. But I saw this continuity, and I realized the issues that we deal with as a society are so global in scope, and you can make change not only within your community but just in the world.
I mean, I could talk for days about how OCE and community engagement and immersion has impacted my life, and I think that it's been out of everything else, it's been the single factor that's kept me at Rollins and has kept me in community work, and because more than anything, it's just helped me feel very connected to Rollins and to my community at large. So, I mean, I can't even speak to the depth of which I think it's important to have service learning. I think it's probably, if I was to name the single most critical thing for college students to be doing, would be service learning. And I mean, I would love to get to the point where we have every first-year student going on an immersion their first semester, just because that was what got me connected to Rollins, and I wouldn't be doing all the stuff that I'm doing now if it weren't for that. So.
I totally agree with what you're saying, and I think it's absolutely necessary. But I'm going to play the devil's advocate, and I'm going to tell you, yes, it's immersion is an amazing opportunity, but it might not strike the goal for everyone. And the reason being, a lot of people do come to college looking for a career afterwards. So we need, I see the need to show them that, hey, there is a problem, there is a solution, and this can be a career in a sense, like not just through immersion, but possibly through advising too. And I'm having a hard time trying to exactly articulate what I'm trying to say, but it's almost like if someone's looking for a career, let them be known that, hey, this can be a career. You can still make a living out of this while making an impact. And while I agree, Nikki said earlier that almost 90% of Rollins students, before they graduate, are involved in some sort of service voluntary experience. But for the other 10%, or even from the 90%, for the people who do not get as strong of an impact as we have got, I think advising or some other way would be another way to go about it.
Thank you. In the interest of time, we're going to have to move on. I hope that this whets your appetite, and that this is only the beginning of your discussing these questions with your students. Again, students are steering this entire ship, and I think if we're going to build this well, we've got to understand it from their perspective. Please keep the questions coming, not here directly, but they're all incredible, and they've got really brilliant answers. So to the four of you, Casey, Bethany, Anna, and Megan, thank you so much for your time. All right, now I'm going to hand the floor